All right, good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order on Monday, January 16th. If the clerk, you can please call the roll.
Becker?
Here.
O'Flaherty?
Here.
Pena Graham? Stoker? Wright?
Here.
McMahon?
Here.
Maxwell. 4 present.
We're present, we have a quorum. Okay, at this point in the meeting, I'm going to ask for an approval of the agenda. Can I get an approval for the agenda?
Move to approve as written.
We have a motion from Becker, second on the floor from Wright. All in favor of approving the agenda as submitted, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Okay, the motion passes. At this point of the meeting, I'm going to ask for an approval of the minutes from the December 18th meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A motion on the floor from Wright,
I second.
a second from O'Flaherty. All in favor of accepting the minutes from December 18th meeting, say yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All opposed, same side. All right, that motion passes. This portion of the meeting is the public participation portion of the meeting. If anybody is in the audience who has something to say that is not on the agenda, you're invited now to come forward to the podium and speak your wishes. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public participation portion of the meeting, and I'm going to open it up for items of new business. Tonight, we have 2 items on new business on our agenda. The first is a public hearing, a petition by Merker Properties LLC for the approval of the rezoning of the subject site at 11921 Route 38 from BC, Business Conservation District, DeKalb County, to the PDI, Planned Development Industrial District, to allow light industrial uses, including a plumbing company and a proposed 6-lot subdivision. If there's someone from the audience that wants to come make a presentation on this, I invite you to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Kevin Buick. I represent Marker Properties LLC. Craig Marker, one of the members of the LLC, is also present tonight to address any questions or concerns. Business address is 2040 Aberdeen Court in Sycamore for the law firm. But I'm here to talk about Craig and what he is doing, which is a little bit unusual for this Planning Commission. This is a rezoning request, but the property is not currently within the city of DeKalb's limits. And so it is currently zoned Business Conservation District in DeKalb County. Now, Marker Properties LLC has pursued extensive dialogue with the city. This has been going on for quite some time, many months. And what we are pursuing is an annexation agreement with the city that will require annexation when the property becomes contiguous. If you can see on the presentation maps that Mr. Olson has up before there, you can kind of see a black line that shows where the current city limits are. And there are 2 parcels, north and south, but just immediately to the west of Craig's parcel that are currently not located within the city, and we don't know at what point in time they will be located within the city of DeKalb. However, if the annexation agreement is approved, and it is up for presentation to the City Council next Monday night, then state law permits a parcel such as this to seek the use of the zoning and subdivision controls of the municipality with which the applicant has entered into the annexation agreement. For a whole bunch of reasons, it's logical and appropriate for Craig to align with the city of DeKalb, with its zoning, probably just as important, if not more so, its subdivision codes and processes. So the commission is aware. We've had dialogue with DeKalb County too, to make sure that they understand what we're doing, why we're doing it. They're fully in support of this as well. And for those of you who are longtime residents of DeKalb County, you may know the county doesn't do subdivisions very often. I think the last subdivision they approved is decades ago. So this is an opportunity for Craig to work with the city in planning, and again, given his proximity, everything should align very well. So what we're doing in seeking the rezoning and what the public hearing involves is the proposed zoning would be planned development industrial. What Mr. Olson has up on the board right now is Craig's site plan, which shows 6 lots If you can see where he's highlighting right now, you're going to see that's where Craig's plumbing business is to be relocated. And that, candidly, I mean, that's driving this. Craig wants to relocate his plumbing business to this location to be able to build. This is a vacant property. I'm told that even the house on the property came down just the other day. So this has been a process where these structures, older structures that had fallen into states of disrepair are coming down. And so it'll be developed in accordance with this plan. As you can see, where Craig's business would be located is more accessing off of Webster Road as opposed to Route 38. This really isn't going to front on Route 38, and it won't be immediately visible from the perspective of the motorists that are coming by. But the planned development industrial zoning would use light industrial standards. That's part of the annexation agreement. That will set the uses for the property and for the other lots in the subdivision. And it would align, as you'll see with some of the advancing slides, you'll see, if we can get to the map there, you see all of the purple. That's the 2022 comprehensive plan for the city. And all of the purple is industrial contemplated use. So that is indeed what this is intended to be. It's intended to align with the comprehensive plan, and we believe the zoning will be very appropriate. A couple other things I want to mention. The DeKalb County Soil and Water Conservation District is generally consulted in situations where there's rezoning, particularly if there's vacant or agricultural land. This really is, again, it's kind of a dilapidated structure process for a while, but DCSWD's letter report did come in just this afternoon. They have no objection to this. They've identified the soils on the property, Drummer 152A, if any of you are interested. That's something I learned a long time ago. Craig's engineering and the deployment of the detention areas, I think, will be a vast improvement for the current drainage on the property. So I think the Soil and Water Conservation District was interested in that. The water service is well water currently. There's a septic facility on the property. These would continue until the city's water or the Kishwaukee Water Reclamation District services are within 200 feet of the property. We have had discussions with Mark Eddington at the Water Reclamation District, and of course ongoing discussions with the city, but that'll be something that's down the line. For right now, the property will stay essentially served as its own entity. And the final thing I want to mention tonight is public hearings are designed to get public input into the process, and we're always, I say we, I'm usually sitting on the Dan Olson side of the table when I'm analyzing these things. So I'm usually looking at this from the municipal perspective. But the one bit of public input that we've received to this point that Mr. Olson shared, and I think was in your packet tonight, was a letter from the owners of the 86 acres that is to the southeast of the property. And they had a thoughtful letter just essentially appealing to the idea that, well, put it candidly, they don't want any of Craig's development to be junky looking. And so I want to, Craig can state anything he'd like in support of that. He has intentions to do a very appealing and attractive development. It will meet the urban design guidelines of the comprehensive plan that the city has. He's going to do it in a top-notch way. And again, I think that the concerns that are articulated are always appropriate, but I guess I just want to reassure members of the commission that it's fully the intent of this property owner is to improve this property so that he can take the business. And just by way of history and background, C&H Plumbing's been a part of the DeKalb community since 1982. Craig purchased the business in 2019. It's had a couple of locations. He's on Wurlitzer Road now, but this will be an opportunity for him to stay working within the DeKalb community, even though for at least a temporary period of time, it'll be slightly outside the DeKalb community. So with that, I'll indicate, again, Mr. Marker's here. He's happy to address any questions that you've got, but that's what we wanted you to consider, and we're hoping for a favorable recommendation.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Is there a city presentation?
Yeah, briefly, Mr. Buick went over a very thorough review of what's being requested. So I won't repeat anything, but the city kind of took the approach of business, long time in the community, 1982, wants to stay in the community, come into the city eventually, had a site here on Webster Road and Route 38. That's, as mentioned, not contiguous quite, but a parcel away, about 500 feet. So once this area is annexed, I think it's under the same ownership, then they would be required to be annexing in. We do have a boundary agreement with Cortland. It's in place, and you can see this is from our comp plan 2022, the site there, and this blue diagonal area, light blue, that's the Cortland side or Cortland area. So these properties will go into Cortland someday. So it's on our side, so eventually it's in our planning area, a mile and a half. It's a little unusual, we're not annexing the property, we're approving a rezoning. And there's an annexation agreement in front of the council, as mentioned, that will lay out all the requirements and when they have to annex. Utilities are at Peace and Road and Route 38 now. This is the city boundary, the utilities, water in blue, sanitary in the green. As you can see, are quite a distance away. So once those get closer and it's annexed into the site, they will be required to hook up to water and sewer. They've had discussions with KWRD already on that about annexing that district and using the existing well on the site, going through DeKalb County Health Department regarding that, and the septic systems too will serve their initial building. CNH Plumbing will go here. They show 5 other lots for future industrial type uses. We're recommending light industrial permitted and special uses, so that's appropriate for that. So they meet all the rezoning requirements in terms of compatibility with the surrounding area, surrounding zoning, meeting our comp plan, providing adequate utilities in the future. As noted, the one public input from Richard and Sharon Nolan, going the 86 acres of southeast corner Route 38 and Webster Road. That letter's in your packet. They reference a Park 88 standards, which is a totally different, that's 3M buildings, and that's a totally different type of development where they have buildings up to 1 million acres, possibly very detailed standards. But as mentioned by the applicant, they plan on doing a good-looking project here. I think he said he have some masonry on some of the buildings. They have, as each lot comes in, they'll have to provide stormwater detention. They do show a pond at the corner there, so that'll be a nice feature as you're entering the city. And all these other buildings will have to meet our UDO requirements in terms of landscaping, signage, setbacks, other screening requirements. So the standards in place already, they'll ensure this project looks good. So with that, we'd recommend approval. And as noted by Mr. Buick to the DeKalb County, they've been informed of this. They're in support of what we're doing in terms of approving an annexation agreement and eventually annexing the property. So they fully support the request. So the sample motion prepared approves the preliminary plan, which you see up on the screen, and also development standards, basically the LI, Light Industrial District requirements in the UDO. And there'll have to be when they get to subdividing it, they'll have to do a final plat. And subdivision process, so we'll come back through the commission and city council.
All right. Thank you, Dan. All right. At this point, I'm going to ask if there's anybody from the audience that has something to say about this issue. Seeing nobody from the audience that has to talk about this, I'm going to close the public portion part of this hearing and open it up to the commission for questions, comments.
Yeah, I mean, the area that is part of the city right now is zoned for light industrial. It makes sense for light industrial. I think the only thing that I would like to reinforce is what Mr. and Mrs. Nolan stated, is that as you're coming into the city, and part of the comp plan was being worked on in 2022, and which we were a part of, was that as you're coming into the city, you want to present the city in the best possible light. So, yeah, you don't want it to look junky. I mean, you look at some of the cities in other areas, and in fact, in our own town, 10 years ago, you come in from the east and you're looking at some of the areas and they're beat up, and now we're seeing improvement. So I do think it's not just important, but really essential that be considered as that is developed. And it sounds like because of the comp plan and also with your investment in it, that your conscientious effort will be made. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, I'm confident that Craig will do a good job with it.
Yeah.
There. Any other questions?
Yeah, I was wondering, I guess I was thinking, is this customary to have it before the city annexes the land?
Yeah, this is unusual. We haven't done one since I've been here, where we're approving an annexation agreement. They're not contiguous, actually annexing in, so. But since it was so close to contiguous to the city, this is something that's allowed to do, approve an annexation agreement that lays out everything. They come in with our zoning, building codes, UDO requirements, and they'll eventually annex in once they become contiguous. So it is unusual. I don't know if the city's done much of this in the past, but certainly not in the last 6 or 7 years. So, but it's fully supported by our city attorney. It's gone through this, drafted the agreement up, and this is something we're allowed to do.
My question is, why are you doing this now then? Do you have to be here, or you could build and develop?
Go ahead,
Yeah, I
Mr.
mean,
Buick. At the mic, if you could, so we get on tape.
The real issue is the suitability, and I kind of alluded to it. If he is in the county, he can't annex to the city because he's not contiguous, unless or until that land that's to the west of Craig's parcel and to the east of the city boundary annexes. He doesn't have the ability to attach. Now, unless it comes around from the north or the south. But right now, he literally does not have the ability from a legal standpoint to annex. So the issue is in the county, while the county has zoning and does have subdivisions, they just aren't suited to do any of this. They don't know how to approve these plans. And I don't mean they don't know how. I do mean that they haven't done it since the 1970s. The county has pursued a policy of asking development to annex to municipalities in order to approve it. So the little estate subdivisions that existed in the 60s and 70s where you might have some residential use, that all went away in the 1990s when the county instituted the 40-acre rule for residential. And while they're getting a little bit more encouraging of agribusinesses and small businesses, they just don't have the ability to take a 6-lot subdivision and approve it because they just don't do it. So that's kind of the reason why we've been working hand in glove. And to Commissioner Wright's point, it's relatively unusual, but there are specific laws in the state statutes, the Illinois Municipal Code, that govern annexation agreements that provide exactly for this type of arrangement if the property is within the 1.5-mile planning jurisdiction of the municipality. There's a very interesting, and I will not go into it, there's a very interesting background where communities have attempted sometimes to use that for purposes that don't have anything to do with what Craig's doing. In some cases to circumvent the county's 40-acre rule, for example. And I could tell you some side stories about that some other time. But while it's unusual, it's teed up for just this type of situation where it's logical and it does make sense to use the municipality's zoning and subdivision governance as opposed to the county's, which is more agricultural in basis.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other comments? Anybody care to make a motion?
Sure.
Yes, can I make a motion, please?
You want to make a comment
Yes, I would.
on this issue?
No, on zoning comments.
The public portion of the meeting has already been closed for this item.
I'm not allowed?
Not at this point. In
Next-
terms of
next
this,
item.
this one here.
Is it relative to this particular issue that you want to make a point?
Yes, it is to zoning,
Zoning in general?
yes.
Okay,
So
so
this
think
public
it's a-
comments
yeah, I
already
think-
passed, so
yeah.
I can speak to you after the meeting if you have some general comments on zoning, if they don't pertain to these two agenda items. So
Okay.
let's go ahead with the motion.
All right. Is there a motion on the floor?
Sure. Based on the submitted petitions and testimony presented, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward its findings of fact and recommend to the City Council approval of the rezoning to PDI, Planned Development Industrial District, for the property located at 11921 Route 38, per the preliminary plan labeled as Exhibit A and subject to the plan development standards listed in Exhibit B.
We have a motion on the floor from Becker. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from O'Flaherty. Clerk, please call the roll.
Becker,
Yes?
Flaherty,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
McMahon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you very much. Good luck. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we have another item of new business on the agenda. The second item of new business is a public hearing. This is a public hearing, a petition by Mohammed Majid for approval of a special use permit to allow a retail tobacco store for the tenant space located at 830-834 West Lincoln Highway. If the applicant is present, would like to come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and give your presentation.
Mohammed Majid. My address is 818 West Lincoln Highway in the Junction Center.
Thank you.
Good evening. I was here to see if I were be able to move locations within the Junction Center. I'm currently at 818, and I wanted to move towards the end of the center at 830/834. The reason for the move is just bigger space. We're going to conduct the same business. Our space currently is about 1,000 square feet. This space is about 2,000 square feet. Pretty much we're just going to copy paste the same thing we have now. We're just getting a bigger humidor in there, and it's going to give us just more space to, display our current inventory, and that's about it. So,
Okay. Thank you very much.
thank you, sir.
Is there a city presentation on this issue?
Yes, staff report as mentioned by Mohammed, they are relocating. Currently located in the map here is north is up, or south is actually up, but they're currently at 818 tenant space here, and they want to move to basically a larger space where there's 2 units here, shown on here. So they're generally in this location. They want to move down here. So they're a legal non-conforming use. They've been in there about 15 years. We passed some standards for retail tobacco stores, and there's a definition for that, meaning they sell primarily tobacco products over a certain percentage, or their revenues are over that, which they are. So they want a larger space, as they're mentioning, better for their customers, more products. We have some setbacks in there, 200 feet required from a retail tobacco store to residential zone property to schools. So once they're moving, we got to do another special use, make sure they're meeting all the setbacks, which they are in this case. So it's just to move to a larger place. There won't be any negative impacts. They've been at their current location 15 years, no negative impacts on the surrounding businesses or surrounding land uses. It's light commercial zoning. They're complying with all those standards for light commercial. In our comp plan, of course, there's adequate parking in the parking lot. That was analyzed extensively when we had the cannabis dispensary go through. We looked at that. So they're replacing I think a health food store. That's kind of the front of their space they're going to. So they're not more parking demand than with the previous use. Basically the same parking demand. So there's adequate parking. Other utilities are already in place. So we received one public response form from the property owner, actually Richard Finn, who's here, supports the request. So staff is in support. We have a sample motion, just 2 conditions. The applicant, of course, get a tobacco license from the city of DeKalb, the council, prior to selling a tobacco products at the new location, and be no smoking in the improved tenant space inside. So in the current space, I guess they're going to open up a cafe. Is that
Correct.
generally-
In our old space, the one we're currently at,
Where they're
like a
currently at,
pastry
so
cafe.
there'll be a
Nice.
use, they're going to maintain that and put
So
another
we're
business in
going to
there.
keep both spaces.
Very good. Very good. All right, thank you, Dan. At this point, I'm going to ask if there's anybody from the public wishing to speak about this item.
I
Is
think
there?
it's a great idea. Making the junction full.
All right.
would be great.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody that wants to speak on this issue from the public? All right, I'm going to close the public public hearing portion of this meeting, of this piece, for this part, and open up to the committee to ask questions. Any questions, comments?
So Wired Nutrition is gone.
Is it gone?
Why, no, they are?
Oh, why, yeah, it's
They're-
closed,
Why?
a couple months ago, I guess.
A couple months? Okay, guess I won't be getting my protein shakes from
There you go.
You weren't patronizing them enough.
That's why they're gone. I didn't get my shake.
So I have a question. Do you have to get a new tobacco license to go from the one to the
Yeah,
other?
for the
Yeah,
different
from the
location you
city,
do.
yeah.
Yes.
But you have one now.
I do have one now, yeah.
It's for a specific location, the license, so if you
Okay, so the
move,
license
not
with the
transferable.
location.
yeah,
All
you
right,
can't transfer it to another location.
okay.
Because there's setback requirements, other standards, it's, you know, specific in the tobacco regs in the municipal code, so.
Okay.
You talked about a larger humidor.
Yeah, we have one right now, but it's current, it's like, it's only about 100 square feet. So we're limited to the products that we have in there. Moving to the new spot, we're gonna have it, it's probably gonna be 2 or 3 times the size, so just to have a larger variety. Because we're pretty much the only ones that have a humidor in the area. And, you know, customers are used to coming by us, but everybody's always asking for a different size of something, or there's just nowhere to put it.
Very good. Any other questions, other comments? No. Seeing none, is there anybody that wants to make a motion on this issue?
I will. Based on the submitted petition, testimony presented, and findings of fact, I move the Planning and Zoning Commission forward its findings of fact and recommend to the City Council approval of a special use permit for a retail tobacco store for the subject tenant space at 830-834 West Lincoln Highway, as shown on Exhibit A and subject to the following. 1, the applicant shall obtain a tobacco license from the City of DeKalb prior to the selling of tobacco products. And 2, there shall be no smoking in the approved tenant space.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor from O'Flaherty. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from Wright. Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, Becker,
Yes?
O'Flaherty,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
McMahon,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Good luck in your transition.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. Are there any staff reports?
Just update, next meeting, February 5th, 2 items. Fire station plan number 4 along South Malta Road, north of Schnucks. There's a lot the city owns, so that would be a amendment to that plan development agreement. There was restrictions on number of access points on South Malta, so that would be amended. And plus, each outlot in that subdivision required a final plan to be submitted. So that's the 2 items that will be discussed that evening. And then we'll have a text amendment on fences. We're finalizing some of the language. This is going to be regarding lots that have actually fronting on 3 streets, kind of an unusual thing, but, and we're cleaning up some language in the fence regs, so that will be another hearing that night, those 2. And since the last commission, the council met and they approved the 2 zoning items that the commission looked at, 122 Cotton Avenue with a 2-unit there. That was a rezoning approved, and the Habitat for Humanity new duplex they want to build on Pleasant Street, that was approved also
Cool.
Very
at
good.
the last council meeting, so.
All right. Anybody from the commission that has anything to report?
It's cold.
It's cold. All right. Thank
Yes.
If you could arrange better weather for the 5th, Dan, we'd appreciate it.
you. All right. If that's all for reports, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We got a motion on the floor to adjourn from Becker. Second
Second.
from Wright. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We'll see you next time.
We need a clerk to